"Mummy, look at him, very poor. Look at his clothes. They will come and beg us for food." The dusty village of Agule, far from the brightness of city lights, lived a young girl named Adaze. At just 17, her heart carried the weight of sorrow that most grown adults could not bear. Adaze once had a joyful life. Her parents were loving, hard-working farmers who believed in education, kindness, and the fear of God. They raised her with love and taught her to always tell the truth, respect elders, and never repay evil with evil. But that happiness did not last. One rainy evening, as thunder roared and lightning flashed across the sky, news came like a sword. Her parents had died in a fatal accident on their way back from the market. Just like that, Adaze became an orphan. No goodbye, no last hug. The day they were buried, Adaze felt her world shatter. The only people who loved her truly were gone. After the burial, she was taken to live with her father's only sister, Cordelia, a woman known in the village for her sharp tongue and cold heart. Everyone said she agreed to take Adaze in out of pity, but from the first day Adaze stepped into her compound, it was clear there would be no pity at all. Cordelia had a daughter named Chinaza, just 1 year older than Adaze. Chinaza was her pride and joy, beautiful, proud, and always dressed in the finest clothes Cordelia could afford. She went to school in the town, had a phone, and ate the best food in the house. Adaze, on the other hand, was treated like a maid. Every morning before the first cock crowed, Cordelia would bang on Adaze's door, more like the mat she slept on in the corridor, and shout, "Lazy girl, are you waiting for angels to come and do the chores?" Adaze would jump up, tie her old wrapper, and begin the long list of duties. She swept the compound, fetched water from the stream, washed the dishes, cleaned Chinaza's room, and even helped in the farm, all before 8 a.m. "Don't forget to wash Chinaza's uniform with your hands," Cordelia would add. "She cannot wear dirty clothes like you." Sometimes Adaze would look at Chinaza and wonder if she had any heart at all. The girl never lifted a finger to help. If Adaze made a mistake, Chinaza would laugh and run to tell her mother, and Cordelia would beat Adaze with a cane or whatever her hands could find, broomsticks, slippers, even wire. But Adaze never complained. She held tightly to her late mother's words, "No matter where life takes you, never let wickedness live in your heart." She worked quietly, she cried in silence, she prayed in whispers. Whenever Chinaza got new clothes, Cordelia would make Adaze iron them. "You see this dress?" she once said, holding up a pink lace gown. "This is what beautiful girls wear, not those rags on you." That evening, Adaze sat outside the house, hugging her knees as she watched the sun disappear behind the palm trees. She was tired, body and soul, but she still whispered a prayer to God, asking for strength. She believed that one day her story would change. The neighbors noticed the way Cordelia treated her, but nobody said anything. Some were scared of Cordelia's sharp tongue. Others believed Adaze was just unfortunate. But not everyone turned away. One old woman, Mama Unkum, once called Adaze aside and gave her a warm bowl of yam porridge. "You are a child of destiny," she said softly. "Keep your heart clean. Wickedness never lasts forever." Adaze nodded, blinking back tears. That simple kindness felt like a mountain of love. Deep inside, she wondered, would I ever be free from this life? Would anyone ever love me again like Mama and Papa did? She didn't know that her journey was only beginning. Behind the clouds of her suffering, the wind of destiny was already moving, quietly, slowly but surely. The sun rose slowly over the rooftops of Agule village, but for Adaze it was just another day filled with fear and pain. She was already outside before the sun touched the sky, sweeping the compound with the tired broom that had lost half its bristles. Her hands ached, her feet were sore, but she kept working. She always worked. Inside the house, Chinaza was still sleeping, snoring softly under a mosquito net. Cordelia, her mother, had already started boiling water for her daughter's morning bath. She didn't even glance at Adaze. To Cordelia, Adaze was invisible, unless there was something to blame on her. Later that morning, while Adaze was washing clothes at the backyard, Chinaza came out, holding a shiny necklace in her hand. "Mama!" Chinaza shouted. "My gold necklace is missing!" Cordelia rushed out. "What do you mean?" "It was in my drawer last night. I left it there. Now it's gone." Cordelia's eyes widened. She turned sharply toward Adaze. "You thief!" she screamed. Adaze stood up quickly, confused. "Auntie, I swear I didn't take anything. I've not even been inside her room today." "Shut up," Cordelia barked. "Who else could it be? My daughter said she left it there. Are you calling her a liar?" "No, Auntie. I'm only saying—" Before she could finish, a hot slap landed on her left cheek. The force knocked her to the ground. Her ears rang. "Useless girl," Cordelia shouted. "After feeding you, clothing you, this is how you pay me? By stealing from my daughter?" Tears filled Adaze's eyes. "I didn't take anything," she whispered. But Cordelia wasn't listening. She dragged Adaze by the ear into the kitchen, grabbed a stick used for turning fufu, and beat her until her skin burned. "You will learn today," she yelled at thief. She locked Adaze inside the tiny storeroom behind the house, a dark, hot space filled with empty basins and cobwebs. There was no window, no mat, nothing. "You will stay there until you tell me where you hid the necklace," Cordelia hissed, slamming the door. Adaze cried until her voice was gone. She wasn't crying because of the pain, she was crying because of the injustice. She had never stolen anything in her life. Later that evening, when Cordelia went to clean Chinaza's room, she opened the drawer and found the necklace under a pile of clothes. "Chinaza," she called, "it's here. The necklace is here." Chinaza entered the room slowly. "Oh, maybe I forgot where I kept it." Cordelia stared at her daughter. "You were sure it was Adaze?" Chinaza shrugged. "I thought so." "It's not a big deal." "Not a big deal?" Cordelia sighed, but she didn't say sorry. She didn't even go to open the storeroom where Adaze had been locked up for hours. It was only after dark that Cordelia remembered. She opened the door and saw Adaze curled in a corner, her face swollen, her eyes empty. "Come out," she said coldly, "and next time, don't let me catch you stealing." Adaze didn't say a word. She came out slowly, her body weak, her stomach empty. She hadn't eaten since morning. She limped to the back of the house, sat on the bare ground, and looked up at the stars. "God, are you watching?" she whispered. "If I had done it, I would accept the punishment. But I didn't. Why is life like this?" Her tears flowed freely. Chinaza, on the other hand, was laughing with her friends on the phone, telling them how Adaze cried like a baby. She didn't care. She never cared. That night, Adaze's heart felt heavy, but she refused to let hatred grow inside her. She remembered what her mother used to say, "God sees everything. Nothing is hidden from him." The next morning, even with her body sore, Adaze was the first to rise again. She fetched water, boiled yam, and set the table for Cordelia and Chinaza, who didn't even say thank you. Cordelia's neighbors often praised Chinaza. "Your daughter is beautiful," they would say. "You've raised her well." Cordelia would smile proudly. "She's the light of my life." No one ever mentioned Adaze. No one noticed the girl behind the scenes, the one doing all the work. But fate did. Fate was watching. One day, everything would change. But for now, Adaze endured, because she believed that suffering does not last forever, and that even in the darkest of places, light will find its way. The sun beat down on the tin roof of Auntie Cordelia's house like fire from heaven. Inside the small kitchen, Adaze was sweating as she pounded yam in the mortar. Her arms were sore, her back ached, and her stomach growled with hunger. She hadn't eaten that morning. Cordelia had said she didn't deserve food because she broke a plate the night before, even though it slipped by accident while Adaze was washing dishes with shaky hands. "You must suffer to learn," Cordelia had snapped. "Do you think life is soft?" That was how every day went. Blame, insults, punishment, hunger, work, silence. As Adaze served the food, perfectly pounded yam with bitter leaf soup, she heard laughter from the parlor. Chinaza had returned home from school with 3 of her friends, Cynthia, Boma, and Peace. They were all dressed in smart uniforms, makeup on their faces, phone lights flashing as they took selfies. "Adaze," Chinaza called loudly, "bring cold water for my friends. Be fast, please. Or should we come and carry your legs for you?" The girls burst into laughter. Adaze came in quietly, holding the tray of cups and water. She bowed her head, trying not to make eye contact. But as she bent to place the tray on the table, Chinaza suddenly stretched out her leg and tripped her. Crash. The cups fell, water spilled everywhere. A cup shattered. "Ah," Cynthia gasped. "Is she blind?" "She's just clumsy," Peace giggled. "Or maybe she's acting like this to get attention." Chinaza folded her arms. "She's always like that. That's why my mom doesn't let her touch important things." Cordelia rushed into the parlor. "What happened here?" "Mama," Adaze broke the cups again, Chinaza said quickly. "Right in front of my friends. She's embarrassing me." Without asking questions, Cordelia turned to Adaze. "You again? Do you want to disgrace me in front of guests?" "Auntie, I didn't. She tripped me." Another slap, harder than before. "Liar. So my daughter is now a witch that moves people with her leg?" Cordelia dragged Adaze outside. The girls inside were peeking through the curtain, still giggling. Cordelia picked up a broomstick and began to beat Adaze all over her back, legs, and arms. "Today, I will beat sense into you. Since you came to this house, it's one problem after another." Neighbors watched from a distance but said nothing. They had grown used to the scene. After the beating, Cordelia gave her another punishment. "You will not eat today. In fact, go and scrub the gutters. I want to see them shine. If I see any dirt, you'll sleep outside." Adaze limped to the backyard, found the small iron sponge, and got to work. Her hands were already bruised, but she didn't stop. Her stomach felt empty, her heart even emptier. From inside the house, Chinaza and her friends were dancing to loud music, recording themselves on TikTok. They laughed and joked, pretending Adaze didn't exist. As she scrubbed the smelly gutter water, tears dropped silently from her eyes and mixed with the dirt. She wasn't crying because of the beating. She was crying because of how small they made her feel. Like she didn't matter, like her pain was invisible. That night, Adaze slept on the cold cement floor in the corridor. No pillow, no food, just her thin wrapper and a broken heart. But even then, she whispered a prayer. "God, if you're truly watching me, don't let me die here. I don't want to hate them. I just want to be free. Please remember me." As she fell asleep, a breeze passed through the corridor window and kissed her face. It was soft, like the touch of her late mother. Somewhere in the world, a man dressed in rags was planning a quiet return to the village. People thought he was nothing, but he held secrets that would soon change everything. But for now, Adaze's night was long, and her hope was the only thing keeping her alive. Morning came again, but for Adaze, it brought no joy. The sound of the cock crowing was like an alarm reminding her that a new day meant new pain. She slowly got up from the cold floor where she had slept, her joints stiff, her muscles sore. Her stomach rumbled, but she ignored it. Hunger had become her daily companion. She didn't even need to be called. She already knew what to do. Before the sun fully rose, Adaze had already fetched 2 buckets of water from the stream, swept the compound, and prepared the firewood for cooking. She washed Chinaza's school uniform and polished her shoes until they shone. But there was no thank you, not even a glance. Cordelia sat in the kitchen that morning, cooking papa on the firewood stove. The smoke was thick and the fire crackled beneath the iron pot. Chinaza was getting ready for school, dancing to music on her phone while Adaze cleaned the windows. As Adia stepped into the kitchen to ask if she should boil water for bathing, she didn't see the small bucket of hot water that Cordelia had just lifted from the fire. Cordelia, already in a bad mood, was looking for who to vent her anger on. "Can't you see I'm busy here? Must you always come and stand in my way?" she shouted. Before Adaze could finish her sentence, Cordelia flung the hot water. Time froze. The steaming liquid hit Adaze's arm and shoulder, and she let out a scream so loud that it echoed across the village. Birds flew from nearby trees. A neighbor peeked over the fence. Auntie, please! Ah, my body, my skin is burning!" Adaze cried, falling to the ground. Her skin turned red instantly. Blisters began to form. She rolled on the floor, crying, shaking, begging for help. But Cordelia just stood there, her hands on her waist. "Next time, you'll look where you're going," she said coldly. "You think this is your father's house?" Even Chinaza came out, holding her nose. "Ew, Mama, see how she's crying like a baby. It's just hot water." Cordelia shook her head. "She's lucky I didn't pour acid." Adaze was rushed to the village nurse by a kind neighbor, Mama Enkay, the same woman who once gave her yam porridge. The nurse treated her burns as best as she could, but she didn't have the right tools. Adaze was told that the skin on her shoulder and upper arm would never look the same again. "This scar will remain," the nurse said gently. "You're strong, my dear, but you need to rest." Rest? How could she rest when Cordelia didn't even come to check on her? That night, Adaze lay on a wooden bench in Mama Nukum's house, her arm bandaged and her face wet with tears. "Well, me," she whispered, "what did I ever do to deserve this?" Mama Enkay sat beside her, brushing her hair softly. "My daughter, some stories start with pain but end in glory," she said. "Don't lose heart. This scar on your body, one day it will speak louder than all the lies they've told about you." Back at Cordelia's house, Chinaza and her friends laughed as they shared the news on social media. "Our house girl poured hot water on herself, clumsy goat." But what they didn't know was that God was not asleep. He was watching. And even though Adaze didn't know it yet, her days of suffering were numbered. The scar she carried would not just remind her of pain, it would become a sign of survival, a mark of strength. But until that day came, Adaze endured, bruised, mocked, wounded, but still hopeful, because she believed that even a girl like her, with no riches or beauty, deserved love, deserved peace, deserved better. The rain poured heavily that Saturday morning in Egule village. The sky was dark, the wind howled, and thunder rumbled in the distance. But for Adaze, the storm outside was nothing compared to the one waiting for her inside the house. Her burns from the hot water were still healing. The scar on her shoulder was fresh and painful. Every time she lifted her arm, she winced. But did that stop Cordelia from giving her chores? "No. Go and scrub the toilet," Cordelia barked that morning. "Lazy thing. You think because you have one small injury you should rest?" Adaze said nothing. She picked up the brush and went to work. In the afternoon, Chinaza invited her friends again. Cynthia, Boma, and Peace returned, all dressed in short skirts and heavy makeup. They came with snacks, drinks, and loud music. The moment Cordelia left the house to attend a wedding in the next village, the real party began. They locked themselves in Chinaza's room, dancing, taking selfies, and laughing. Adaze was not allowed to come near. But from the kitchen, where she was peeling yam, she could hear everything. "See my mama's gold chain?" Chinaza bragged. "Real gold, oh, imported." "Boma, this one fine dye," Boma said, touching it. I fit wear this. Go church tomorrow. You de cress. Chinaza laughed. My mama will finish me if she doesn't see it. But while they were dancing and playing, Cynthia quietly slipped the chain into her handbag, thinking no one noticed. But Chinaza saw her. She saw it. Yet, she said nothing. That evening, Cordelia returned. She barely removed her shoes when she shouted, "Where's my gold chain?" The whole house went silent. Chinaza pretended to check everywhere. "Mama, I saw it this morning. Oh, maybe Adaze took it." Adaze, who had just come in with firewood, froze. "Auntie? Me? Don't you dare speak," Cordelia screamed. "That chain was the only thing your late uncle gave me before he died. Where is it?" "I didn't take anything, Auntie, I swear on my parents' grave," Adaze cried, kneeling down. But Cordelia was already burning with anger. "Liar! You probably sold it in the market for peanuts so that you can run away from this house." "Auntie, please, I didn't even touch it," asked Chinaza. "Are you calling my daughter a liar again?" Cordelia's voice shook the walls. Without warning, she grabbed Adaze by the ear and dragged her to the center of the compound. "Obina," she called her son, "go and bring the cane, the long one I keep behind the cupboard." "Chai," Obina laughed. "Adaze, today your body go tell you." What followed was a beating so brutal, so shameful, even the neighbors peeked through their windows. Cordelia beat her with the cane. Obina poured water on her to make the pain worse. Chinaza and her friends stood by, laughing, recording with their phones. "You thief, you disgrace, you, this girl with no shame," Cordelia shouted with every strike. "God, please," Adaze cried. "I didn't do anything." But no one listened. No one cared. When the cane broke, Cordelia used a broom. When the broom scattered, she used her slippers. By the time they stopped, Adaze was lying on the floor, barely moving. Her lips were bleeding. Her back was covered in stripes. Her voice was gone. And the worst part? No one even checked if she was still breathing. Cordelia walked away, dusting her hands. Let her die if she wants. At least I'll have peace. That night, Adaze lay on the cold cement, her body shaking with fever, her soul crying louder than her voice ever could. She didn't understand why life hated her so much. She had done everything right. She worked, she obeyed, she prayed. Yet pain kept following her like a shadow. In the darkness, as the rain fell again, she whispered, "God, if you still hear me, please save me before they kill me." And for the first time, as her eyes slowly closed in weakness, she dreamed of a man dressed in rags, walking slowly into the village, with eyes full of fire. She didn't know it yet, but help was on the way. The world had broken her, but destiny was not done with her. The morning started quietly in Agul village. The sun was shy, hiding behind gray clouds. Birds chirped lazily. Adaze, still weak from the beating of the previous day, dragged her tired body to the backyard to wash clothes. Every part of her ached. The pain was so deep, even her breath felt heavy. Her back was swollen, her lips still bruised. Yet she didn't rest. Cordelia didn't believe in rest for her. "Finish washing those clothes before I come back?" Cordelia shouted. "Lazy thing. Don't come and die in my house." Cordelia had gone to buy foodstuffs at the village market, and on her way back, she passed by the home of a neighbor, Mama Ego, a well-known gossip and trader. "Ah, Cordelia, wait!" Mama Ego called, her voice filled with juicy news. "Have you heard what's happening near the junction?" "What happened?" Cordelia asked, holding her bag of gari. "There's one mad-looking man, dirty, skinny, rough, like a mad goat. He's been walking around the village asking for a girl to marry. Can you imagine?" Cordelia raised her eyebrows. "A girl? In this village?" "Yes, oh," Mama Ego continued. "They say he smells like wet firewood and wears the same clothes every day. Today he stood in front of Mama and Jerica's house, saying he wants to marry her daughter. She almost poured pepper on him. Cordelia laughed wickedly. Is he mad? Maybe not mad, but very poor, Mama Ego replied. Some people are planning to call the police to chase him away. Cordelia suddenly paused. An idea entered her head. A man, looking for a wife, and very poor, she whispered to herself. She turned sharply to Mama Ego. Where exactly is this man? Near the big tree at the village square. He's always around there. Cordelia nodded slowly, a sly smile forming on her lips. Let them not call the police yet. I might have a solution. You, Mama Ego blinked. You want to give him Chinaza. God forbid, Cordelia snapped. Not my golden daughter, but I have one goat in my house that I've been feeding for years. Let him take that one. Adaze, Mama Ego gasped. Cordelia laughed. Yes, let that idiot go and suffer with him. That's where she belongs. She's even lucky. At least someone wants her. By the time she got home, Cordelia's wicked plan was already in motion. She walked into the compound and saw Adaze kneeling beside a basin, washing Chinaza's bedsheets. You, she called out, dry your tears. We've finally found someone that wants you. Adaze looked up, confused. Someone wants me? Yes, Cordelia said with a mocking grin. There's one man looking for a wife. He's poor, jobless, and smells like dustbin. But since you're already useless, you'll match well. Adaze's heart dropped. Auntie, please, she stammered. Cordelia raised her hand. Say one more word and I'll remove your teeth. I've done enough for you. If not for me, you would have died in the street. Now pack your things. We'll visit him tomorrow. That evening, Cordelia sat with Chinaza and Obina, laughing about the plan. I can't believe Mama Ego said the man looks like a mad person, Chinaza said. Adaze will finally be someone's house rat. Obina laughed. She should go and suffer well. Let the man use her as firewood. Only Adaze was silent. In her corner of the house, she sat with her chin on her knees, tears rolling down her cheeks. She didn't know who the man was. She didn't know where she was going. All she knew was that Cordelia had sold her off like property, without care, without love, without mercy. But what Cordelia didn't know, what none of them knew, was that the man they all laughed at was no ordinary man. Yes, he dressed like a beggar. Yes, he lived like a nobody. But his story was deeper than his appearance. And his eyes, though tired, held a secret that would shock the whole village. The next morning arrived with an eerie calm. The birds didn't chirp as loudly. The wind moved gently through the trees, whispering secrets only the leaves could hear. But inside Cordelia's house, there was no peace. Maria sat quietly on the ground, her body still sore, her mind spinning like a top. She hadn't slept well. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw fire, Cain's laughter, and her scar. The scar that now stretched across her left shoulder like a permanent reminder of her suffering. Cordelia came out from her room, fully dressed in her best lace wrapper. Chinaza followed behind in short jeans and a crop top, chewing gum loudly. Davia, Cordelia shouted. Adaze stood up slowly. Yes, Auntie? Today is your lucky day, Cordelia said, tying her headscarf tighter. We're going to see the man who wants to marry you. Adaze's heart dropped. Her fingers began to shake. Auntie, please. I don't want to get married yet. I want to finish school. I want to... A hot slap silenced her. School, Cordelia hissed. With whose money? Your dead parents? Or do you think you'll stay in my house eating free food forever? I'll work harder. I'll do anything, just please. Cordelia moved closer, her voice sharp and cruel. Let me tell you the truth, Adaze. No man will marry a girl with scars like you. Your back looks like the bottom of a frying pan. Your shoulder is burnt. What man wants that? Adaze froze. Her mouth opened, but no words came. "You're lucky this one even wants you," Cordelia continued. "You're lucky someone is ready to carry your cursed life. That's your level, a poor man and a poor girl." Janaza laughed in the background. "Maybe she'll be using palm oil as makeup now." Adaze looked down. Her chest rose and fell slowly. The pain wasn't just physical anymore. It was inside now, deep, dark. An hour later, Cordelia dragged Ade to the village square. People whispered and stared as they passed, but Cordelia didn't care. She held Ade's arm tightly, like a goat going to the market. They arrived under the old Iroko tree, where the man was said to spend his time. And there he was. Sitting on a wooden stool, leaning on his walking stick, was the man everyone called the Wretched One. He was tall, but his back was slightly bent. His clothes were faded and torn at the edges. His beard was long and rough. Dust covered his feet like shoes. He looked like a man the world had forgotten. But his eyes were deep, quiet, observant, like someone who saw more than he spoke. "Good afternoon," Cordelia said, forcing a smile. "I heard you are looking for a wife." The man nodded slowly. "Yes, madam. I'm not rich. I don't have much. But I want a companion, someone I can care for, someone who won't laugh at my condition." Cordelia laughed. "Perfect. This is Adaze, she's yours." The man's eyes moved to Adaze. She didn't look up. Her head was down. Her heart was broken. "I don't want this," she whispered. "Do you think you have a choice?" Cordelia snapped. "This is your destiny." The man stood up and walked toward Adaze. He said nothing. He only looked at her scar, then looked at her eyes. Ade felt her breath catch. For the first time, someone was looking at her, but not with hate, not with pity, just calm. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated. Adaze." He nodded. "Nice name." Cordelia clapped her hands. "So, we agree? When are we coming to do the traditional rites?" The man looked at her. "Whenever you're ready, madam. I don't have bride price, but I'll take care of her." Cordelia waved her hand. "Forget bride price. Just take her away." As they laughed, villagers whispered, "Why would Cordelia give that girl to such a man? Even animals are treated better. Poor girl." But Cordelia was proud. She had finally gotten rid of the burden. As they walked home, Adaze said nothing. But deep inside, a strange peace began to settle. She didn't understand it. She didn't know why. Maybe it was the man's calm voice. Maybe it was the way he looked at her. Not like trash, not like a servant, not like a scarred mistake. Whatever it was, something was shifting. And though she didn't know it yet, this was the beginning of a new chapter in her life. One that even Cordelia couldn't control. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon in Agole village. The air was still. Even the trees stood without movement, as if they were watching, waiting. Inside Cordelia's compound, Adaze sat in the corner, her small nylon bag already packed with the only belongings she owned: 2 faded wrappers, a torn Bible, and a plastic comb. Her heart pounded like a drum, not from excitement, but from fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of the future, fear that her life, already hard, was about to get worse. Then they heard him. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Soft. The villagers looked up from their chairs. A man in worn-out trousers and a frayed shirt entered Cordelia's compound. His sandals were dusty. His face was tired, but his eyes, those deep, unreadable eyes, remained calm. It was him, the wretched man. Cordelia smiled proudly. "You came right on time," she said, her arms folded. The man nodded once. "I came for Adaze." Without a word, Adaze stood up. She picked up her bag slowly. Chinaza sat on the veranda with her friends, eating puff-puff and laughing loudly. "Ah, so this is your husband, Adaze," Boma shouted, standing up and clapping. "Wonders shall never end," Cynthia hissed. "She's even lucky. She looks like she belongs under a bridge." Peace laughed so hard she nearly choked. "Wait-o, are they going to his house on foot or on donkey?" The girls burst into loud laughter, their voices echoing across the compound. Cordelia joined them. "She's lucky he didn't run when he saw her scarred body. Now both of them can go and suffer together, a perfect match made in poverty." Adaze didn't reply. She couldn't. Her throat was tight with emotion. Her feet felt like they were carrying stones. The man took her bag from her gently. "Are you ready?" he asked. She gave a small nod. Together, they turned to leave. As they walked out of the compound, heads turned, children pointed, women whispered, "Adaze has married a madman. Her life is finished. She will beg for food now." But the man said nothing. He didn't shout. He didn't respond to the laughter. Adaze, though her heart was heavy and her eyes filled with tears, felt something strange. She felt safe. They walked in silence down the dusty road until the compound was far behind them. No one followed. No one cared. To the world, Adaze had just been thrown away like rubbish. To Cordelia, her mission was complete. But what the world didn't know, what even your readers don't know yet, is that this story was just beginning. Because every scar tells a story, and some stories hide the greatest surprises of all.